Howdy, my name is Bela Desai, and for my psychology and film project, I will be looking at the fictional character Katniss Everdeen from the film Catching Fire. As an overview, Catching Fire is the second installment in the Hunger Games film series and is set in a dystopian future version of the United States called Panem. Every year in Panem, 24 children are conscripted to fight to the death until only one child is left alive. The protagonist of the film, Katniss Everdeen, steps in to participate in the Hunger Games in place of her sister. During the games, Katniss faces many trials and tribulations, but through her courage and compassion, she emerges victorious. After the games are over, Katniss is told that she will be able to go home and live out the rest of her life in peace. However, in Catching Fire, it becomes clear that things will never go back to normal for Katniss Everdeen, as she develops post-traumatic stress disorder due to the extreme traumas she faced during the games. In the film, Katniss struggles with PTSD, which she develops as a result of the traumatic events. These events include, but are not limited to, witnessing the death of her friend and ally, taking the life of another human being, which was another competitor, and suffering many psychological tortures. The world of Panem itself is a cruel and authoritarian society where citizens are not able to question or object to any government actions. Citizens are expected to gladly allow their children to participate in the games as they are being chosen, and it is considered an honor to Panem. If Katniss did see a therapist in her world, her symptoms would most likely be brushed off as an overactive imagination by the therapist, since said therapist would be too afraid of government retribution to acknowledge the games as a serious and traumatic event. PTSD in many cultures seem to be more prevalent in countries where there are war fatalities, such as European countries that have had the highest war death rates in World War II. Even in the United States, there are many resources to obtain mental health support, but there are still many cultural stigmas attached to people with PTSD, such as the public stigma of being thought of as dangerous or violent, self-stigma, which can cause patients to believe the negative stereotypes others have of them being weak or unable to function in society. By trying to avoid the labels that society has placed on these people with PTSD who are genuinely suffering the symptoms, they may not want to seek help to recover. The symptoms that Katniss Everdeen shows in the film Catching Fire include nightmares, which many PTSD patients often have, that relive the traumatic events or event. Flashbacks are another symptom that Katniss Everdeen has in the film. For example, Katniss and her friend are going out hunting for food. When she draws back her bow to shoot at an animal, she has a flashback involving remembering the people that she shot and killed in the Hunger Games. She becomes disconnected from reality and starts to have a panic attack. Her friend manages to calm her down by reminding her that she is in the present and not in the games. An unexhibited symptom that Katniss does not have would be a change in cognitive behavior, in cognitive ability that can manifest in the form of loss of memory, specifically the memory surrounding the traumatic event. Katniss does not show any evidence of this symptom throughout the movie, since she very much remembers all of the events that happened in the game. One treatment that could be used to help patients that have PTSD like Katniss would be cognitive behavioral therapy. This therapy focuses on thoughts and behaviors and emotions to help the patient deal with the trauma that is caused by PTSD. The therapy is provided over a series of meetings, either in group or individual. These therapies include explaining types of traumas and the reaction people feel to trauma, modifying thoughts that may be distorted, and allowing the patient to confront the traumatic event in a non-threatening setting. If Katniss were to have this treatment in our modern world, she may have a very good chance of helping with her PTSD. However, Katniss lives in the world of Panem, which would mean that the therapist would not be willing to admit that the games are a terrible trauma for the tributes and would not even admit that Katniss has PTSD in the first place. Therefore, she would not be treated in any way, shape, or form. The portrayal of PTSD in Catching Fire is extremely realistic. The horrors Katniss experiences in the game, including torture and murder, are very similar to the events that soldiers experience in war. The movie shows Katniss suffering many of the symptoms real PTSD victims do. Films play an important role in our understanding of mental health issues and reducing the stigma of disorders. When we see sympathetic main characters like Katniss Everdeen battling disorders, we will be less likely to feel ashamed of our own disorders and be more compassionate towards others who are experiencing these issues.